Yali Madad to everybody. आज जो टॉपिक्स हम कवर करने वाले हैं यहाँ पे, उसमें जो मेन चीज है वो आगा खान ट्रस्ट फॉर कल्चर का जो एक बड़ा प्रोजेक्ट था. जब मैं बोलता हूँ बड़ा, आई मीन यू विल ओनली कम टू द डायमेंशन ऑफ दैट बड़ा व्हेन यू एक्चुअली सी दिस. आप में से काफी लोगों ने शायद ये जो फिल्म है अल खीमिया, काफियों ने यूट्यूब पर ये पूरी मूवी देखी होगी. ये ऑलमोस्ट अबाउट 1 आवर की मूवी है. अगर किसी ने पूरी मूवी देखी होगी तो उसे अंदाजा होगा कि ये कितना बड़ा प्रोजेक्ट था और इसका क्या इम्पैक्ट था. लेकिन मुझे लगता है बहुत सारों ने ये मूवी नहीं देखी है, इसलिए हमने यही सोचा कि हम जमात के सामने ये पूरा प्रोजेक्ट प्रेजेंट करें. तो वी विल बी शोइंग यू सम पार्ट ऑफ द मूवी और वी विल एक्सप्लेन टू यू एग्जैक्टली क्या काम हुआ है, किस तरह से काम हुआ है और उसका एंड रिजल्ट क्या था. लेकिन the idea is to for the Jamaat to then after going through this session, अगर आप ये पूरा मूवी देख पाएंगे, अगर आप वो देखने की कोशिश करेंगे तो आपको बहुत मजा आएगा and you will really see the impact of this entire project. I hope कि ज्यादा से ज्यादा मेंबर जमात के मेंबर्स इस प्रोग्राम में आज ज्वाइन हो. और इस तरह के काफी सारे प्रोजेक्ट है जो आगा खान ट्रस्ट फॉर कल्चर ने अंडरटेक किए हैं इंडिया में, पाकिस्तान में, दूसरी कंट्रीज में, जो ना सिर्फ एक रेस्टोरेशन प्रोजेक्ट है लेकिन उससे वहां पर रहने वालों की क्वालिटी ऑफ लाइफ, उनका स्टैंडर्ड ऑफ लिविंग और उनकी फ्यूचर जनरेशंस को क्या उस पर इम्पैक्ट पड़ता है, वो देखना और वो समझना बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग है, बहुत जरूरी है. So this is exactly what communications, ITREB and AKDN Mozambique want to bring forward to the Jamaat, for the Jamaat to see for yourselves and understand the impact of these projects.
Yali Madad, आज ITREB Mozambique in collaboration with Communications and Publication Portfolio एक ऐसे प्रोजेक्ट के बारे में शेयर करना चाहती है जिसका इम्पैक्ट ना सिर्फ एक शहर के फिजिकल स्ट्रक्चर पर पड़ा बल्कि वहाँ के रहने वाले हजारों लोगों की जिंदगियों में भी काफ़ी बदलाव आए. जैसे कि हम जानते हैं कि AKDN यानी द आगा खान डेवलपमेंट नेटवर्क एक ग्रुप ऑफ इंस्टीट्यूशंस है जो मौलाना हाजिर इमाम की गाइडेंस और डायरेक्शन के अंडर काम करता है. इसके ऑब्जेक्टिव्स लोगों की लिविंग कंडीशंस को सुधारना और डेवलपिंग वर्ल्ड में अपॉर्चुनिटीज क्रिएट करना है. AKDN की इंस्टीट्यूशंस के 3 मेन एरियाज ऑफ फोकस है: सोशल डेवलपमेंट यानी कि सामाजिक विकास, इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट यानी कि आर्थिक विकास और कल्चर यानी कि संस्कृति. और आज हम AKDN के आगा खान ट्रस्ट फॉर कल्चर के एक ऐसे प्रोजेक्ट के बारे में आपको बताने जा रहे हैं जिसकी शुरुआत 1980s में हुई, पर जाने अनजाने जिसका फाउंडेशन सैकड़ों सालों पहले ही रखा जा चुका था. तो आइए देखते हैं मूवी अल खीमिया, डायरेक्टेड बाय प्रिंस अली मोहम्मद खान.
Sometimes simple ideas led to ambitious and complex projects.
Cairo is a very grey city. People living in Cairo are living under 1 square meter per capita of greenery in rich areas. So we're talking about in poor areas that one inhabitant has the luxury of less than his footprint of greenery.
To work in historic city is always a high-risk proposition. In the case of the Arb el Ahmar, there are things that have not worked. People have been used for about 500 years to look out of the windows and see a heap of debris and garbage.
The entire area was not a safe area. It was a very difficult zone to work in.
We had at one point 1,200 workers on the job. It seemed like a mission impossible.
Some dwellers were saying we would pray to God before falling asleep that we would wake up and the house would not crash on our head.
You can't give up on a dream like this. It's such an enormous project that impacts a lot of people.
The idea of building a park in Cairo was brilliant at that time. We had no greenery. So creating this park actually, in my opinion, was like the biggest impact, not just on the area, not just on the neighborhood, on the entire city of Cairo.
This area was a barren piece of land, which for about 500 years has been used as a place where unused debris were thrown away. It was really a garbage dump. So the idea to build a park here may have seemed rather utopian or ridiculous to some of them.
Dar al-Ahmar historically is a neighborhood that developed following the 12th and the 13th century, and since then it has been evolving. It has been continuously inhabited by people, by craftsmen, by a very, let's say, very solid community of local residents of historic Cairo. However, it has been suffering from a lot of high levels of poverty, deterioration of the physical conditions, and lack of investment in infrastructure. So it was deteriorating as an inner city neighborhood.
Well, you're looking at an area which used to be a very prominent area in Egypt's history, old history. Through the years, it's been through different phases. One of these phases, actually the most recent phase, was actually some area that is known for its drug dealing activities. And that was cracked down in the mid-'80s. And since that, all of a sudden, when this happened, the whole economy of this area kind of dropped down.
When we studied the community, it was a surprise because you find people with modest means and people who are well off living side by side. What they have in common is a lifestyle. They assist each other out of necessity. There are a lot of elderly because it's an old neighborhood. People have been living here for generations. So the fact that they are living, working, owning, intermarrying, it's such a well-knitted, strong community.
उस वक्त कायरो में एक पार्क बनाने का आइडिया बहुत ही शानदार था, क्योंकि इस पार्क का सबसे बड़ा प्रभाव ना सिर्फ आसपास के एरिया बल्कि पूरे शहर पर पड़ने वाला था। यह जमीन 500 सालों से भी ज्यादा वक्त तक बंजर पड़ी थी। इसे सिर्फ कूड़ा, कचरा और मलबा फेंकने के लिए इस्तेमाल किया जा रहा था। वहां के लोग एक छोटे से 2 रूम वाले घरों में 20 से भी ज्यादा मालिक थे, क्योंकि ये एक पीढ़ी से दूसरी पीढ़ी को ट्रांसफर किए जा रहे थे और जितनी पीढ़ियां आगे बढ़ रही थी उतने ही वारिस भी बढ़ रहे थे। कई सारे घरों में बेसिक फैसिलिटीज भी नहीं थी, पर इसीलिए नहीं कि वो गरीब थे, पर इसलिए क्योंकि उनके सोच में घर वो चीज नहीं थी जिसमें वो किसी तरह का इन्वेस्टमेंट करना चाहे। अब बड़ा सवाल ये था कि इस कचरे और मलबे को खोदकर एक पार्क कैसे बनाया जाए। 80,000 ट्रक्स भर खारी मिट्टी और मलबा साइट पर से निकाला गया। जैसे ही काम तेजी पकड़ने लगा, टीम की उम्मीदें भी बढ़ी। वो लोग उस दिन के सपने देखने लगे जिस दिन ये पार्क लोगों के लिए खोला जाएगा और लोग बड़ी तादाद में अपने परिवारों के साथ वहां वक्त बिताने आएंगे। पर अब भी सफर बहुत लंबा था। अब आइए देखते हैं मौलाना हाजिर इमाम के व्यूज इस प्रोजेक्ट को लेकर और क्या-क्या चैलेंजेस फेस करनी पड़ी ये प्रोजेक्ट के दौरान और इस पार्क के पीछे की कहानी।
A seminar organized by the Aga Khan Award for Architecture took place in Cairo in 1984.
It gives me great pleasure to pay tribute to His Excellency the Prime Minister and His Excellency the Governor of Cairo for the help and encouragement which both they and their officials have given to the organization of this seminar and to the site visits associated with it.
The Cairo seminar was very important. It was on the metropolis of Cairo. We had the seminar at the Marriott Hotel, and then we had field visits. HH met the president, he met the prime minister, and it was on television every day. Everything was very well covered, and HH was very happy with the result and the way he was received. So he said, I want to give something to Cairo, so please go and see the governor. So I went to see, about a month later, I went back to Cairo and saw General Abu Talib and said, HH was very happy, and I think you're happy. He wants to donate something to Cairo. So he pondered a bit. He said, look, we are very short of green spaces. How about a garden? I know it's not architecture, but what about the garden? I said, well, I can speak to him about the garden, but I'm not sure he'll accept. He said, look, there are three, I'll give you 3 proposals. There was a small one, which was a square somewhere in the old city. I can't remember the name of the square. About 500 square meters. There's another plot of land which is about, I can't remember, 1,500. And the third, there's a big rubbish dump on the road to the airport that everyone knows, everyone complains about the dust when there's wind, etc., which is 35 hectares. And that's a bit big. I don't think he'll accept, he said. But go and see him. It's next to the Azhar Mosque. Prime area, he said. Just give him these 3. So I went back and told these are the 3 proposals, and I suppose the middle one is the one which would... And he said, no. How far is the rubbish dump from the Azhar? I said, it's just next to it. So then, that's what I want. I was surprised. I went back to Cairo and told the governor. That's what he wants. The governor was surprised too.
Cairo was one major factor that delayed for more than 10 years the construction of the park.
That was an extra challenge that added to the complexity of building the park, that we had to integrate these water tanks into the landscape and the hardscape of the project. It was frustrating because the park had been in the news so many times, but in reality, there was no construction taking place. But there's a flip side to this. There was a benefit that the design was able to mature over time. And when we began construction, the design was all set in place, so we were not hindered at that point. Everything was researched properly, and construction commenced quickly.
I would like to simply say what a unique opportunity it is to develop a park of this nature in the heart of historic Cairo, to create a park which will inshallah, bring well-being, not only in terms of the environmental context, but also in the social context. And it is probably going to be one of the most unique parks, because I am not aware of any other cities that have this opportunity.
So we took the essence or the criteria that was used in Islamic gardens, in terms of quality and detail and use of indigenous plants, indigenous trees, and enjoyment, and the very careful and intelligent use of water, the use of aromatic plants, the containment of space, the intricate use of patterns, and so forth. This, we hope, will reflect on the people on terms of the perception and conception of people of what is a park or what should a park be.
The process of building this park also started by creating a nursery in the vicinity of Cairo. And for several years, this piece of land grew some of the most slower growing plants in the park. For example, the royal palm trees that today constitute the main alley of the park. The next step was to keep the topography, the new shape of the mountain intact. And then it started to rain and the slopes are starting to disappear. And then to find ways and means to fix that. That was our most immediate and pressing problem. We didn't know how to fix the slopes. And we started doing the wrong thing, is to put in irrigation. It was even worse. And then finally this was resolved by a number of measures, building a wall in the bottom and finding the right type of plants to fix the soil.
We had a brilliant doctor called Dr. Badawi, and he's an expert who came in, and he tried various species of plantations to go in various areas of the park. So I would give the whole credit to this person.
There are about 200,000 people who...
दूसरा अहम सवाल ये था कि किस तरह से एक गरीब इलाके में इतना बड़ा पार्क बनाया जाए जिससे वहां के लोग पराया ना समझे। शुरू में लोगों के मन में पार्क को लेकर कई सवाल थे कि क्यों कोई उन्हें कुछ देगा, वो भी फ्री में। एक तो तोहफे के तौर पर, कोई भी किसी को बेवजह तोहफे नहीं देता जब तक बदले में उसे कुछ ना मिलने वाला हो। तो इस पार्क के पीछे का मकसद क्या था, और इसलिए अल दर्ब अल अहमर के लोगों को इस प्रोजेक्ट में शामिल करना बहुत ज्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट था। उस वक्त लोगों में बहुत शक था, क्योंकि लोग इतना ही जानते थे कि उन्हें अपने घरों में बदलाव या रेनोवेशन करने तक की परमिशन नहीं होगी और उन्हें उनके घरों से निकाल दिया जाएगा। 1970 से बस वो यही बात जानते थे, और इसलिए ये बात उनके लिए अविश्वसनीय थी कि उन्हें उनके घरों की मरम्मत, रेनोवेशन में उन्हें फाइनेंशियली सपोर्ट करने वाला है, इस शर्त पर कि वो भी इसमें पार्टिसिपेट करें। लोगों के लिए ये यकीन करना मुश्किल था, पर इस बीच कुछ ऐसे भी लोग थे जो अल दर्ब अल अहमर से ही थे और जिनके साथ लोकल्स आसानी से रिलेट कर सकते थे। इनके साथ से धीरे धीरे ही सही पर लोगों का मानना आसान हो गया। ये जितनी मशक्कत और थकाने वाली काम था उतना ही सैटिस्फाइंग और फुलफिलिंग भी था। टीम के मेंबर्स ये जानते थे कि उनकी यह कोशिश आने वाले कल में लोगों की जिंदगी बेहतर बना देंगी।
Live in Al Darba Ahmar, and therefore in the major investment in the park needs to be able to have a ripple effect on the demography around the park, and therefore you have to build that into the overall program. And so we're working in housing rehabilitation, we're working in microcredit, we're working in education and healthcare, we're working in upgrading local NGOs. So the important thing is to enable the community in Darba Ahmar to benefit from the long-term return on the park.
It was a continuous effort to try to convince everybody around you. This was a very hectic process, but it was also very fulfilling, because you feel that you're doing something completely different. You're implementing something on the ground, you're making a difference in people's lives, and it just rewards you immediately, because once people go back to their houses and you see the change, the amount of investment that they're doing in these houses, it was something that even a personal level, a very fulfilling process.
खुदवाई के वक्त एक ऐसा हिस्टोरिकल मॉन्यूमेंट सामने आया जिससे कि ये प्रोजेक्ट की अहमियत और भी बढ़ गई। तो आइए देखते हैं वो क्या था।
While the grading of the park was taking place, along roughly 1.1 kilometers on the edge of the park, this great monument started coming out of the ground, which is the Ayyubid Wall. What a revelation. It is considered one of the most important Islamic findings in the 20th century. Now, what do we do with this magnificent structure that has been sitting under the debris and rubble for over 500 years?
What's that thing there, Noah, that you're... Noah?
This, I think it's Ayyubid masonry, maybe for the gate.
Yeah, that's basically all of it. So, I mean, the gate should be coming through between the two towers, and then, according to the indications that exist now, turning and going off through here. So this would be the basic side of the gateway as you come through.
These are the coins we found. This is my cleaning device here. You just put a stainless steel object, and then you put the coin on the other side, and you connect them with electricity, with water.
This is extraordinary. It's much more dramatic than anybody could describe in writing. You actually have to see this.
The second surprise was that we found, with the collaboration of the French Archaeological Institute of Oriental Archaeology, we find also the remains of the Fatimid wall built in adobe. And this was a total surprise, because there were no traces of that in the scientific literature until then.
The issue was how much of it would be excavated. I mean, clearly it makes a big difference excavating 1 metre and excavating 10 metres in terms of not just that work, but all of the conservation work, future planning. You've got whatever level you excavate in. The same is true in here. Once the excavation's over, you've either got a choice of backfilling, raising the level again, or committing to quite a long period of maintenance and conservation.
The discovery of the walls, the restoration and the construction of the archaeological promenade represented a number of millions of dollars that were not forecasted or foreseen in the initial budget plans.
So one thing after the other, we had to be creative on how to use the wall, how to integrate it into the landscape, and how to integrate it into the rest of the monuments in Darb al-Ahmar.
वो था अयूबिद वॉल। ये 20th सेंचुरी की सबसे बड़ी इस्लामिक फाइंडिंग्स में से एक है। अब समय था लोकल कम्युनिटीज को इन्वॉल्व करने का। आइए देखते हैं किस तरह लोकल्स को इस प्रोजेक्ट का हिस्सा बनाया गया।
Our group here, we have males and females, fresh graduate, experienced people, Christian, Muslim. They are working together to preserve one of magnificent building of their heritage. This is most exciting thing is the restoration field. You start to restore, you start to remove a layer of the dust to discover the layer of history, and then you remove the next layer of the dust to discover the next layer of history.
These many say the work here very difficult, but we can make this work. Yeah.
The great thing in Darb al-Ahmar was the construction of the school as a community center, and then the restoration of the square, the Al-Aslam. We installed also some children's playground there, and we remove a very old cafe and allow the owner to occupy a new cafe we built for him. So that was a revitalization of the community life and promoting the relationships. As you know, here in Cairo, the people relate to themselves in the street. This is a very much of a city of street life.
What was really phenomenal by that time, which actually contributed to the project later on, is that how their neighbors came into the new houses to visit them and see what the quality of these restored houses and how do they look like from the inside. And this was the greatest word of mouth and actually promotion tool for the program, because people saw that it's not only about like a facelifting of these houses, it's really changing the houses from the inside. It really changes the lives of the people.
एहसास हुआ कि अब उन्हें उनके घर से नहीं निकाला जाएगा, तब उन्होंने भी मॉन्यूमेंट्स को अप्रिशिएट करना स्टार्ट कर दिया और उन्हें यह भी समझ आया कि किस तरह टूरिस्ट के यहाँ आने से उन्हें भी फायदा होगा। वो लोग अपना बिजनेस बढ़ा पाएंगे और अपना सामान डायरेक्टली लोगों को बेच पाएंगे। कुछ लोकल कारीगर्स थे जिन्हें अपना काम में मुश्किलें आ रही थी। जब उन्होंने AKDN के अल-दर्ब अल-अहमर डेवलपमेंट प्रोजेक्ट के बारे में सुना, तो वो टीम के पास आए। टीम ने उन्हें सबसे पहले उन्हीं के घरों को रेस्टोरेशन करने के लिए इनकरेज किया। उन्हें एक एश्योरेंस मिला कि उनके घर की मरम्मत तो हो जाएगी और उन्हें भी वहां से कहीं नहीं जाना पड़ेगा। कारीगरों को यह बात अच्छी लगी और उन्होंने काम करना शुरू किया। इस प्रोसेस में उन्होंने कई सारी चीजें और नई टेक्निक सीखी। सबसे बड़ा एडवांटेज यही था कि इस पूरे प्रोसेस के वक्त टीम उसी नेबरहुड में थी। वो दिन में 8 घंटे उन लोगों के बीच बिताया करते थे। 100 से भी ज्यादा घर रिस्टोर किए गए और हर घर एक दूसरे से अलग था। टीम को कई बार अथॉरिटी से डील करना पड़ता था। ये उन लोगों के लिए एक बहुत ही नई बात थी कि बहुत बड़ा हिस्टोरिक एरिया रिनोवेट हुआ और रिस्टोर किया गया था, पर वहां रहने वाले लोगों को एक भी पैसा नहीं देना पड़ा। ऐसा पहली बार हुआ था। टीम मेंबर्स ने खर्चे का अनुमान लगाया और उसके अकॉर्डिंग वो उसमें पैसे कंट्रीब्यूट करने वाले थे। उन्होंने एक माइक्रो क्रेडिट प्रोग्राम सेटअप किया जिससे कि लोगों को रिस्टोरेशन कॉस्ट लौटाने में आसानी हो। इस रिस्टोरेशन कॉस्ट के काम में लोकल जो पैसे डाल रहे थे वो इसे मेंटेन करने के लिए बहुत ज़रूरी था। कई बार हम फ्री में मिली चीज़ों की कदर नहीं करते, पर जब हम उसमें अपना पैसा लगाते हैं तब हमारी जिम्मेदारी बढ़ जाती है और हम ज़्यादा केयरफुल हो जाते हैं। यह जगह मार्बल और पत्थर पर कारीगरी के लिए बहुत मशहूर है। बहुत से ऐसे कारपेंटर भी हैं जो लकड़े पर बहुत अच्छा काम करना जानते हैं। इस प्रोजेक्ट में न सिर्फ मॉन्यूमेंट्स की फिजिकल कंडीशन को सुधारा, बल्कि इन कारीगरों और कारपेंट्री की टेक्निक्स को भी फिर से जिंदा कर दिया। इस प्रोजेक्ट का असर न सिर्फ अल दर्ब अल अहमर के आर्कियोलॉजिकल स्ट्रक्चर पर पड़ा, बल्कि उनके साथ रहने वाले लोगों की सोशल लाइफ पर भी। इस प्रोजेक्ट की वजह से कई लोगों को काम मिला, तो कई लोगों की स्किल्स डेवलप और इम्प्रूव हुई। कई लोगों को ट्रेनिंग्स और रोजगार भी मिला। आइए अब देखते हैं वो बड़ा दिन जब अल अजहर पार्क का इनॉग्रेशन हुआ।
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Madam Mubarak, Excellencies, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen. 21 years ago, we had a vision that launched us on a journey of inquiry, exploration, and discovery. The path we followed has led us finally to this evening, at the inauguration of this magnificent park, with so many who have contributed to this historic achievement. Many projects continue, and there are no doubt many surprises to come and many lessons to be learned. I constantly have been reminded that we were touching the very foundations of my ancestors, the Fatimids. 35 generations later, through the work done here by my institutions, it is my prayer that this park will be a continuing contribution to the people of this great city. Thank you.
In the most congested days, which are holidays and peaks, visitors would reach 40,000 in one day. We would end, alhamdulillah, free of any incidents due to our efforts and services provided to our visitors.
Heritage is not transferred in history books only. Heritage is also lived. Historic Cairo is living heritage. It's not fake. It's not a museum. Giving attention and value to the professions, to the lifestyle, to the families of craftsmen, to the buildings that they built and designed themselves, gives them dignity and gives them a message that they are of value. Knowing who we are, appreciating where we come from and who we are is very important.
आई होप कि अल अजहर पार्क प्रोजेक्ट की जर्नी को जानकर आप सबको भी उतना ही अच्छा लगा होगा और उतना ही मोटिवेशन मिला होगा। मोटिवेशन कि हम भी अपने काम और एक्शंस के जरिए अपने आसपास के लोगों की लाइफ में इम्प्रूवमेंट ला सके और मौला के काम में कंट्रीब्यूट कर सके। कुछ ऐसे ही प्रोजेक्ट्स यहाँ मोज़म्बिक में AKDN के थ्रू हो रहे हैं, तो आइए कुछ इन्फॉर्मेशन हम AKDN के रिप्रेजेंटेटिव मिस्टर रूई करीमो, डिप्लोमेटिक रिप्रेजेंटेटिव ऑफ AKDN, मिस बारबरा रिबेरो, डिप्लोमेटिक रिप्रेजेंटेटिव, एंड ऑगस्टिनो मामेद, जो AKDN से कई साल से जुड़े हुए हैं. Welcome Rui, Barbara, and Augustino. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay. So our Jamaat is keen to know about the work and projects which AKDN is doing here in Mozambique. तो आइए जानते हैं कि अभी कौन से प्रोजेक्ट्स और AKDN यहाँ पर ऑन लाइव है. So we'll ask few questions. जमात के थ्रू हम लोग कुछ क्वेश्चंस पूछेंगे और मिस्टर रूई करीमो उसके आंसर्स हमें देंगे और उसके बाद में हम एक छोटा सा प्रेजेंटेशन देखेंगे AKDN का. So let's get started. Mr. Rui, which are the provinces here where AKDN is working with?
Well, Yalimadat to everyone. Good evening. Let me thank you, the National Council, ITREB, and the Communications and Publications Portfolio for organizing this session and giving us, the AKDN Mozambique, the opportunity to interact with you. Before I go to your question, Lubna, if you don't mind, I would like very briefly to explain what is AKDN.
Sure.
Is that
Sure,
okay?
Sure. Yeah, it's completely fine.
Okay, so I will give the floor to Barbara so she can explain to everyone what is the AKDN, and then we go to the districts where we are present.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
Okay, Barbara, please.
Thank you and good evening, everyone. First, I would like to know if, okay, thank you, Roy. So what is the AKDN? The Aga Khan Development Network. It is a private, international and development organization. It's also an implementing organization with a very long-term and a programmatic and sustainable vision. And the video that we have just seen is an example of that, of the Al-Azhar Park in Cairo, which took roughly 21 years to be planned, thought, constructed, and finally inaugurated so that the people who lived within could take the advantage of that. So this is an example of the long-term commitment of the organization where it works, where the countries it is operating. It is also a non-denominational and or faith-based, serving the less vulnerable regardless of their gender, faith, ethnicity, or political affiliation. This organization has 10 development agencies, and they are integrated in 3 different pillars that we will show in the next in the other slides. And these 3 different pillars are first is economic development. We have the social development in the middle, and then we have the cultural development. In this framework of the AKDN, we see that the bulk, out of the bulk of the 10 agencies, 8 are social in the middle, and 1 is economic, and the other 1 is cultural, as the pillars show. Thank you, Rui.
Thank you, Barbara. Would you like to mention how many people we employ in Mozambique?
Yes, thank you. So currently we employ 1,220 people, from which more than 98 are Mozambican and 63% are female. It is also important to know that worldwide, the AKDN employs around 96,000 people.
Thank you, Barbara. I will just add to Barbara's presentation that in our chart, you can see the agencies, but above the agencies, you can see the imamate. So let me add that the Aga Khan Development Network is a contemporary endeavor of the Ismaili Imamate. It is not philanthropy, is not a choice. It is a response to the Imamate's mandate. So it's a contemporary endeavor of the Ismaili Imamate to realize the social conscience, values, and ethical principles through institutional action. So this, Labna, is what is the AKDN, and maybe you want to translate now.
Yeah, I might not be able to translate the complete thing.
Okay.
तो अभी हमें बारबरा ने कुछ इंफॉर्मेशन दी जिसमें उन्होंने बताया कि AKDN इज एन इंटरनेशनल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन जो कि NGO नहीं है और उसके 10 प्राइवेट और 10 एजेंसीज है जो कि पूरे मोजाम्बिक में रन हो रही है. Am I right, Rui?
Yes, yes.
And it is not based on the faith. इसमें सभी नेशनैलिटी और सभी रिलीजन के लोगों को एम्प्लॉयमेंट मिलता है और प्रोजेक्ट्स के अंडर बेनिफिशियरीज जो होते हैं वो भी किसी भी फेथ पर जज होकर नहीं बेनिफिट लेते हैं. राइट रूई?
Yes.
It is non-based.
Faith based, yes.
Yeah. And how many employees you said currently we have?
1,220.
Yes, हम लोग के यहाँ पर AKDN employment है 1,220. Yeah.
And in the world, the AKDN employs 96,000.
And पूरे वर्ल्ड में AKDN employ करता है 96,000 employees को approximately.
Okay, so let me answer now your question about where we are present.
Yeah.
The presence of AKDN in Mozambique started in 1998 when Hazri Imam signed a diplomatic agreement with President Chissano. And in 2001, the first province where we started to work with the Aga Khan Foundation was Cabo Delgado.
Okay.
So we started with Cabo Delgado because at that time was an ultra poor region in the area, in the continent, even in the world. And the request from the President of the Republic was that Hazri Imam and AKDN could support the government to reach that province where the state was not able to reach. So we started with Cabo Delgado, and then other projects came along. And the other projects came to the province of Maputo, both in Matola and Maputo cities. In addition, we are also present in Nampula province through some of the activities of AKF. And if we take into consideration a social society program that we have called Juntos, that program embraces all the provinces of the country.
Okay.
So our presence is mainly in Cabo Delgado, Nampula, Maputo provinces, and through social civil society program, all the remaining provinces.
Okay. Now let me translate it for the Jamaat.
Okay.
ये AKDN यहाँ पर मोजाम्बिक में 1998 में established हुआ और उसका फर्स्ट प्रोविंस था काबो दलगादो जहाँ पर AKDN ने अपनी शुरुआत की काम करने की. और अभी AKDN की प्रेजेंस है मापुतो प्रोविंसेस में, काबो दलगादो एंड नम्पुला, मतोला. और अभी रिसेंटली एक उनका प्रोग्राम चल रहा है जिसका नाम है जूनतोस, जिसमें सभी प्रोविंसेस साथ मिलकर काम करते हैं. Yep, Mr. Rui. Is
Yes.
everything covered?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but that's a good number. The provinces we are covering here.
Yes.
My next question is, what is the prime focus or the area in Mozambique for AKDN? Let me translate the question now itself.
Yes.
हम लोग ने पूछा है कि मोज़म्बिक में ऐसा कौन सा एरिया है जहां पर AKDN को बहुत अपनी मेहनत लगाकर काम करना पड़ता है, चाहे वो हेल्थ हो या कोई और सेगमेंट है, तो लेट्स मालूम करते हैं कि वो कौन सा एरिया है. Yeah, Mr. Roy.
Thank you, Labna. This is a very important question that you are asking. The prime focus of AKDN in any country, in any project, is to serve the vulnerable communities. Like my colleague mentioned, Barbara, the vulnerable communities are served regardless their faith, their ethnicity, their gender. So the prime focus is to improve the quality of life. This is a term that Hazri Imam uses very much, internally for the Jamaat, externally for the vulnerable communities. So in order for us to improve the quality of life in Mozambique, of the Mozambican people, vulnerable communities in Mozambique, we need to consider which are the sectors, the programmatic areas that are the most important. And those areas were identified, and it is in those areas that we are working. So we are working in agriculture, nutrition, health, food security, financial inclusion, civil society, and also on the economic front, we are working on the leisure and textile industries. So those are different areas, and it is a common denominator of AKDN to have a multi-sector input to the society.
So basically everything has been looked, there's nothing has been left behind, right?
Yes.
Health, nutrition, agriculture, everything has been covered by AKDN.
Yes.
Okay. तो मोज़म्बिक में AKDN का प्राइम फोकस ऑलमोस्ट सभी एरियाज में है, चाहे वो एग्रीकल्चर हो या न्यूट्रिशन हो, हेल्थ रिलेटेड हो या फूड, फाइनेंशियली भी लोगों को सपोर्ट दिया जाता है. एंड दिस इज अगेन, ये किसी भी एक पर्टिकुलर रिलीजन के लिए नहीं है या कोई एक जेंडर के लिए नहीं है. दिस इज ओपन फॉर ऑल. कोई भी इसके थ्रू मदद ले सकता है जिसके पास में बेसिक फैसिलिटीज नहीं है. So basically they are trying to cover the vulnerable families जिसके पास में basic facilities नहीं है, जो एकदम low poverty में line में आते हैं, उनको cover किया जा रहा है. Yep, Mr. Roy.
Yes, Labna, if you allow me, I would like to ask my colleague Agostinho Mamat to develop, not in detail, but to explain what AKF is doing in Cabo Delgado province, because most of the sectors I have mentioned are being developed by the Aga Khan Foundation. So the best person to explain to the Jamaat the programmatic areas in AKF is Agostinho.
Okay, so can you ask him to keep the video on as well to have more impact to the viewers?
Yes, please. Agostinho, if you can turn on the video, please, don't be shy.
Yeah, I don't know if it will, my connectivity will be good. I'm out of Maputo actually.
Okay.
So if I face problems with connectivity, I will switch off the video so that at least people can hear what I say. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to this session. It's always an honor to be in this session.
Thank you, please.
Rui, what you are asking, well, it's a big question. I will say that the way we work first and foremost is by engaging people, communities themselves as the main actor. In doing that, our first action is to work with communities so that they are organized in a way that their best interests are on top of the agenda. And in simple terms, in each community, the first action is to help communities create what is called CDA or video, CDA in Portuguese, video in English, Village Development Organization, or Comité de Desenvolvimento da Aldeia. I would say that's the core of our work, first and foremost, because whatever then is done is done after discussing with the communities and after planning together, so that what we do in whichever village we intervene is not solely coming from external support. It's coming from internal resources as well. The community have. It's coming and fueled by the aspirations of the people, what people really want to see happening. So, sorry, I'm facing some problems here. In specific sectors, then we have agriculture. So with these videos, when they prioritize interventions in agriculture, they go into different areas, but mostly are targeted at smallholder farmers, which are the, as we said, the most vulnerable in communities. And we work with hundreds of thousands of them, working on to improve the production and productivity of their small farms, the small plots of land. At the beginning, 20 years ago, Rui was mentioning that when it all started, a lot was done through subsistence agriculture. People were not producing enough to feed their own families, but there was a need to invest on that. As people start to produce more, we moved from mere production of food for the consumption in the family to also support people to reach out to markets and to sell what they produce, and which was beyond the pure need for food on the table. Over time, we included the interventions in the area of economic inclusion that Rui mentioned here. And by economic inclusion, we mean people having access to financial resources, but first starting by managing their own resources, learning how to save resources up to a level where they have access to resources from institutions such as banks, etc. And this type of programming involves as well thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, but it's mostly targeted at women. I don't know if you want to translate. I don't want to make a big speech here or a long intervention. Maybe you want me to stop here and then translate, or yeah, okay.
So the time limit doesn't allow us to continue for a longer period, but that information was good enough. तो AKDN काबो दलगादो में जो है फार्मर्स को प्राइम फोकस करके उनको हेल्प करता है, जहां पर 10 और thousands ऑफ फार्मर्स को सपोर्ट किया जाता है टू इंक्रीज देयर प्रोडक्टिविटी. तो उसके थ्रू उनका फूड प्रोडक्शन इंक्रीज हुआ एंड इन द एंड दे वुड वो लोग अपने मनी को सेव कर सकते थे, and that's how they have got improvement in their quality of life. Thank you, Agostino. Thank you for the information.
Agostino, can I ask you one thing? How many beneficiaries do we have in Cabo Delgado?
Do you have a number? Your current figure of, just an estimated number, because it varies from time to time depending on the interventions. We estimate now at 500,000 people benefiting from our intervention.
Wow! Wow!
As I said, if you look at Cabo Delgado today, half of the province is severely affected by insurgency.
Yes.
So our ability to reach out to people who are in risky areas in the heavily affected area is limited as well. We're still trying to find right ways to reach them, but obviously, as you can imagine, it's a big challenge.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Agostino.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Rui, are you still there? Mr. Rui?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah. Okay. So shall we move ahead with our
Yes,
other
please.
questions? Yeah.
Yes.
So the other question is, what are the future plans with Aga Khan Academy? Aga Khan Academy के साथ में और क्या plan हो रहे हैं in the coming future?
Okay, so not many people know, but the Aga Khan Academy didn't start with the academy building.
Okay.
So it's important to mention that in 2010, pre-academy, there was a professional development center that was established. And this professional development center trained 800 educators from 16 public schools. One of the principles of the AKDN projects is to train, prepare, empower the national human resources.
Okay.
I think Lubna, you need to translate this, as Rui is speaking.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
This is very important.
Okay. So जमात मिस्टर रूई यहाँ पर बता रहे हैं कि 2010 में एक PDC नाम का प्रोजेक्ट स्टार्ट किया गया था.
That's the Professional Development Center.
Yeah, I have been there. Professional Development Center, जहाँ पर 800 टीचर्स को ट्रेनिंग दी गई, जो कि पूरे 16 स्कूल से ऑल ओवर द प्रोविंसेस आकर वहाँ पर ट्रेनिंग लेते थे, right?
Right. So the concern of Hazrimam was not only to establish a very beautiful academy. The concern of Hazrimam was to have Mozambican teachers that could also be part of that academy and deliver the curriculum.
Okay.
And at the same time, Hazrimam is also worried with the quality of the public system.
Okay.
So by working with 16 schools and training the teachers and the directors of these public schools, it is our humble contribution to the improvement of the public system as well.
The education system we are talking about, right?
Yes.
मौलाना हाजरीमाम का सबसे बड़ा कंसर्न मोज़म्बिक को लेकर ये था कि यहाँ की जो क्वालिटी ऑफ एजुकेशन है पब्लिक स्कूल्स में, उसका लेवल इम्प्रूव करना. तो इसी के लिए उन्होंने प्रोफेशनल डेवलपमेंट कोर्स सेंटर स्टार्ट किया, जिसके थ्रू टीचर्स को ट्रेनिंग मिले और इनडायरेक्टली वो स्टूडेंट्स को अच्छा क्वालिटी ऑफ एजुकेशन डिलीवर कर सके.
Okay, so this was the first step, the Professional Development Center, training teachers of public schools and training teachers for the academy. Then in 2013, the academy has opened. It opened with the Early Development Center and then the junior school and library. Okay. So this was the first 2 blocks of the construction. The construction is phased. It started, I will repeat, with the Early Development Center in 2013, and thereafter the junior school and the junior library.
Right. 2013 में आगा खान एकेडमी में सबसे पहले अर्ली डेवलपमेंट सेंटर स्टार्ट हुआ और उसके बाद में जूनियर स्कूल और जूनियर लाइब्रेरी स्टार्ट हुई.
After that, and more recently, the academy has developed and it has constructed student residences, it has constructed sport facilities, it has constructed the science building and the senior school building.
Okay. और अभी रिसेंटली रेसिडेंशियल प्रोग्राम भी स्टार्ट हुआ है आगा खान एकेडमी में और स्पोर्ट्स सेंटर भी स्टार्ट हुआ है एंड साइंस का भी एक अलग से डिपार्टमेंट स्टार्ट हुआ है एंड सीनियर स्कूल भी स्टार्ट हुआ है.
So what are we expecting for 2021?
Right.
For 2021, inshallah, and it depends now on the context that we are all living, we are planning to construct the commons, the academy building, which is the administrative building, the senior library, more student residence blocks, and the athletic track.
Athletic what?
Track, the athletic runaway track.
Truck.
Yeah, no, not track. Track.
Track, you mean?
The field.
The field.
The running tracks.
The running track, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So I'll translate here. Just if I miss something, just add to it. In 2021 में हम लोग expect कर रहे हैं आगा खान academy में athletic tracks को start होगा. Then senior की library start होंगी and administrative block अलग से बनने वाला है and और भी residential capacity बढ़ने वाली है students के लिए ताकि और students आकर वहाँ पर रह सके. And what else did I miss, Roy?
The commons. The commons, it's the place where the students can have social activities.
Okay, the common place.
Yes.
Like a social gathering you're talking about. Social hall, we can say.
Yes.
Okay.
So this is planned for 2021, but it will depend on the circumstances because we are living a new life now.
Yeah.
It's important to say that the academy is being built in a plot of land that was granted by the government. Mm-hmm. It's a plot of land of 22 hectares. And once all the academy is ready and constructed, it will allow 300 students, residential students, 300, out of a total of 750.
Okay.
At the moment, the academy has 200 plus students.
Okay. 2021 में अगर situation permit करती है तो we will have 300 residential students capacity. हमारे पास में 300 students लेने की capacity हो जाएंगी. अभी फिलहाल हम लोग के पास में 200 residential students रहते हैं. Right?
Sorry, 300 residential students.
Residential student, yeah.
And 750 in total, including the 300.
Including 300. So 750 is the capacity Aga Khan Academy की है, जिसमें students आके पढ़ते हैं वो है 750. और उसमें से 300 जो है residential students होंगे.
And the mission of the academy that was set by Maulana Hazri Imam was to provide education of excellency in order to prepare future leaders for the country and for the Jamaat.
Maulana Hazri Imam का aim था कि aim है कि वो education एक अच्छे level का provide करे सभी students को in regardless of faith or gender or religion.
To become leaders of their communities.
Yeah, यहाँ पर वो अपने खुद leader बन सके उसके लिए.
I think that responds to your question.
Yeah. My next question is, how is AKDN extending its support during this pandemic?
We are supporting the country in different ways. One, you may know that AKDN and Council is working together through the National Task Force. And all the concerns that the Council has for the Jamaat are passed to the AKDN, and AKDN tries to support the Council to support the Jamaat in areas where AKDN can support the Jamaat. So this is one. Secondly, we have done a donation in July 2020 of 100,000 reusable masks to the state, to the government of Mozambique.
Okay.
Inshallah, in November, we will do a new donation of 100,000 surgical masks and 5,000 medical gowns, because the requirements now are more on the medical side. Okay, so this is 3 examples that I'm giving to you. And after you translate, I will ask Barbara to give more examples. And I will ask Agostinho also to speak about the work that Juntos and AKF is doing to support the pandemic.
Okay. Okay, मेरा अगला सवाल था कि अभी जो क्राइसिस है कोरोना से रिलेटेड ये पेंडेमिक में AKDN कैसे सपोर्ट कर रही है गवर्नमेंट को इन मोजाम्बिक। तो उसके लिए AKDN काउंसिल एंड नेशनल टास्क फोर्स एक साथ मिलकर काम कर रहे हैं गवर्नमेंट के साथ में, ताकि वो सब जो वल्नरेबल फैमिलीज है जो नीड है वो फुलफिल कर सके। तो रिसेंटली जुलाई 2020 में 1 लाख मास्क डोनेट किए गए to the government to supply to the needy people. फिर अभी नवंबर 2020 में अगले महीने और 100,000 सर्जिकल मास्क और 5,000 मेडिकल गाउन्स डोनेट किए जाएंगे गवर्नमेंट को, अगेन टू हेल्प द नीडी पीपल।
Thank you, Labna. Barbara, can you please carry on?
Yes. More recently, the AKDN is also supporting the government of Mozambique through the Ministry of Health with 2 ventilators, 397 food supplements for for the kids, younger ones, hematology equipment, biochemistry equipment, clinical equipment, and 2 microscopes. So these are the numbers.
Okay.
Of our donated material to Mozambique.
Yeah, let me translate. और इसके साथ में मास्क और गाउन्स के अलावा 2 वेंटिलेटर डोनेट किए गए, 397 फूड सप्लीमेंट्स को डोनेट किया गया, एंड बायोकेमिस्ट्री क्लिनिकल इक्विपमेंट्स एंड 2 माइक्रोस्कोप डोनेट किए मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ हेल्थ को।
Also hematology equipment.
Hematology equipment, okay.
And clinical.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. That's it. Anything to add, Barbara? Sorry.
It will be it, unless there's other information we would like me to point out.
Okay.
Yes. I would like to point out that the items that Barbara has listed is a donation coming from the delegation of the Ismaili Imamate Portugal.
Okay.
And some of Portuguese partners that are submitting to the Mozambican embassy in Portugal for Mozambique.
Okay. ये सब कुछ डोनेशन पोर्चुगल से आया है। इसमें पोर्चुगल के कोई बहुत सारे what you say Portugal embassy is involved.
The Mozambican embassy has received the donation from the delegation of the Ismaili Imamate for Mozambique.
Yeah, okay. Delegation of Ismaili Imamate of Portugal has donated it to the Mozambican government, right? Yeah.
Yes. So the examples I have mentioned, they were produced here in Mozambique. The material that Barbara has mentioned are coming from Portugal. And now, Agostinho, please, if you can develop what Juntos and AKF is doing, please.
Yes, great. Juntos is a platform which brings together a number of local NGOs. Through this network of NGOs, this platform, information on prevention, on preventative measures, on good practices related to COVID-19 has been disseminated nationwide. AKF in Cabo Delgado as well has provided financial resources to the Provincial Directorate of Health for the day-to-day COVID-19 response needs. Sometimes it includes basic things as fuel, as materials that they need to do their raising consciousness activities, and those resources serve for them. I know that part of the resources were used to bring together leaders of schools, so to carefully explain what the measures are and decide together how to move forward. We also in Cabo Delgado have supported the government with, for instance, cars. They were in of cars to disseminate messages on using megaphones on the streets in crowded areas of Pemba or in neighboring districts. Whenever we go to the field, we also meet with the community leaders and pass on the message about what the disease is and what the precautions are. In addition, whenever we go, we distribute free masks for those who participate in the meetings and for others who we may meet or interact, not necessarily in meetings, as well as soap and buckets that they can use to keep their own meetings. So we have these two sides of things that we do. We support with the provincial, the directorate, the local government, and as we interact with communities, we also provide the means for them to address the COVID-19 issues. We also distribute freely reusable masks. I think we have distributed more than 5,000 in communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. मिस्टर ऑगस्टिनो बता रहे थे कि जूनतोज एक ऐसा प्रोग्राम है जिसमें लोकल कम्युनिटीज, लोकल गवर्नमेंट को इन्वॉल्व करते हुए जो वल्नरेबल फैमिलीज है उनको बेसिक चीज़ें प्रोवाइड की जाती है। और अभी रिसेंटली एक कोविड-19 जो अभी पेंडेमिक चल रहा है उसमें अराउंड 5,000 कम्युनिटी को 5,000 पीपल को सपोर्ट किया गया बाय प्रोवाइडिंग मास्क एंड द बेसिक नीड्स। Yeah, Rui?
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, I think my translation is not going that good. Yeah. I'm trying to cover everything.
Yes.
Bilingual.
Yeah. You are covering the main points.
Okay. So that is it from my side. Anything you want to add and to conclude this interview from your end?
If I have 2 minutes, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so my first point is that all the work that AKDN is doing, it not only supports the vulnerable communities, but also brings a considerable amount of respect for the Ismaili community.
Agree.
And this is important for us to retain. And this is also in the mind, I believe, from our leader. So it is important that every one of us, not only the AKDN personnel, but also the Jamaat, realizes the importance of our conduct in the country, the way we are integrated in the country. So see, this is the first point. At the government level, at the state level, the Ismaili community is very much respected, also because of all the work that Hazri Imam is putting in Mozambique to support the vulnerable communities. Right. And my last point, I will put a slide for you to translate. So if you want to carry on with this one.
Yeah, let me just translate this one. Okay, AKDN यहाँ मोज़म्बिक में जो काम कर रही है वो हाँ उसमें हमारा भी एक इम्पॉर्टेंट रोल है कि हम अपने आप को कैसे रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं कंट्री में। इस्माइली कम्युनिटी को मोज़म्बिक में बहुत रेस्पेक्ट मिलता है। तो या यू शेयर्ड अ लिंक। सो वही हमें गुड कंडक्ट रखते हुए मोज़म्बिक में AKDN के साथ में रिप्रेजेंट करना है इस्माइली कम्युनिटी को। That's what Mr. Rui is trying to say.
Okay. And my final remark is to share with the Jamaat the dimension of AKDN. So if you can translate this paragraph, saying that AKDN is present in 30 countries. It has 1,000 programs and institutions, dated back 60 years, some 100 years ago. It has a staff of 96,000 people. The budgets are very high, 1,000 million for social development. The revenues for the economic sector are of 4.5 billion, but they are all reinvested in AKDN. So this is just to finalize and give the dimension to the Jamaat of what Hazrat Imam has built over his imamate.
Right. ओके अगर हम AKDNs को नंबर में बात करें तो AKDN की प्रेजेंस है 30 कंट्रीज के अंदर अराउंड द वर्ल्ड और इसके 1000 से भी ज्यादा प्रोग्राम्स ऑपरेट होते हैं जो प्रोग्राम्स 60 इयर्स से भी पुराने हैं या कोई 100 इयर्स से भी पुराने प्रोग्राम्स हैं और ये AKDN के अंदर एम्प्लॉयमेंट है 96,000 लोगों का और इसका AKDN का एनुअल बजट फॉर नॉन प्रॉफिट development activities is $1,000 million. AKDN का बजट है $1,000 million to run non-profit development activities. And $4.5 billion is for the economic development. Aga Khan Fund for Economic Development. Yeah.
Yes, the 4.5 billion are the revenues, the profits.
Okay.
Which
generates annual revenues.
Yes,
okay.
But these revenues are not distributed; they are reinvested in AKDN.
Yeah, जो 4.5 billion dollars है वो एक annual revenue है AKFED का आगा खान फंड फॉर इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट का जो कि आगे जाकर और दूसरे प्रोग्राम और एक्टिविटीज के अंदर इन्वेस्ट किया जाता है.
Thank you. I think there was a question about how can the Jamaat benefit from in the field of agriculture. So I just want to answer to that question to the member of the Jamaat that we will be happy to share our know-how. In this case, I'm speaking on behalf of Aga Khan Foundation and Agostinho. If this member of the Jamaat wishes to know more about in which areas of agriculture he should invest, we can definitely share our know-how with our professionals, with this person.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Rui, Ms. Barbara, and Augustino for your time. And that was very informative for us all. Yeah, that's it from me. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you also.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you. Bye.
ओके इंशाल्लाह इतरे मोज़म्बिक फिर आपके सामने ऐसे ही कुछ प्रोजेक्ट लेकर आएंगी. थैंक यू जमात एंड याली मदद.
Thank you so much. Barbara, Agostinho, Rui, thank you very much for your time and for your knowledge. Thank you so much for this information for the Jamaat. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yali Madad.